The following is a presentation of the Black Hollywood Live Network, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. Hollywood Redefined. From Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is Black Hollywood Live, the Black Tea Party, featuring weekly discussions on political news and current affairs. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood Redefined.
You're listening to Black Hollywood Live.
And now, the host of Black Hollywood Live, the Black Tea Party.
There we go. Make it ride out. We do this every week. Y'all know the drill.
Every week.
Y'all know the drill.
It's my blackest moment.
And I told you.
Every week it's his blackest moment. Why aren't you improving yourself?
I don't know.
Can you be better?
I'm definitely not doing.
No?
I'm not doing Marvin Gaye Inner City Blues this week.
Okay. Gotcha.
I'm doing Marvin Gaye What's Going On this week.
Gotcha.
Because
Nice choice.
What isn't going on this week?
yeah, it seems to be going on everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Black Tea Party on Black Hollywood Live. I am your host, Ron Moore, and joining me, as always, is Team. Sitting on my left, Mr. Michael Teemant. How you doing?
Hey, good. How you? Well, okay. I'm not in St. Louis. I'm great.
Yeah,
Jesus.
true. Mr. Don Nash, what's good with you?
What's good?
What's good? See, I have to ask him what's going on.
Interesting.
And I ask you what's
You
good.
should have asked me what's going on. A whole bunch of foolishness. What's good?
Yeah.
I'm sitting next to Stacy.
Oh
That's
my
what's
God.
good.
It's always good.
I was like, I just floated it over the plate.
As
and
you
I was
did.
Wow, you
waiting.
just gave it to him on a silver platter.
Yeah.
Wow.
I served it up. There he is.
God.
I'm trying to figure out how to
It's like-
improv around it since he gonna change it on me.
Yes, and
And Miss
Gosh.
Stacy Ike, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks so much.
Cool, that is good. And we are being joined in studio by a very special guest. I'm sorry, I did not get your last name.
It's okay. I can speak well. Eboni K. Williams.
Hey, did you hear it with
Yeah,
with the
with
middle
the K.
initial?
Oh, yeah. You
Yeah,
got
because
it
I
with
didn't
the
want to
K
look
there.
at you and just say Miss Ebony and go, man, I didn't even.
Keep it authentic. I like
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm just
Yeah.
gonna be real. We always are real. We
Yep.
know you're a guest to the show. What we do here, we just put out the issues, we put out the politics, we put out whatever it is that's going on that's bothering us, especially in Black America.
Yeah.
And we like to bring the real to it.
I like
So we talk about real world solutions to real world problems. We don't like, sometimes you're gonna hear talking points, but you're also gonna hear a lot of like serious.
Well, I can be a bit
Debate.
serious, Rome, so this is a good
Well,
fit.
I know you gave us the middle initial.
Yeah.
That's serious.
Yeah.
Ebony K.
True.
Williams.
Yeah,
Don't
true.
not to be confused with Ebony Williams.
Because there's a lot of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of
She
those.
lived down there on 23rd and Crenshaw.
Right.
This.
Anyway,
Not that there's anything wrong with Crenshaw. Right.
Yeah.
23rd.
Right. Right. That's
23rd is not bad.
No. I'm happy to join you guys. It's like you guys are, saying in the intro, so much going on. I think we're at a real crux of America right now in terms of what's going on politically and socially, and the intersection of those issues is really explosive. No pun intended.
Yeah.
So let's get to it.
Cool. Let's get into it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna start off with last week. We had a real good debate about
we
Ferguson.
did. Thanks for all the
Ferguson.
Twitter people, by the way, who
Yeah.
had some great stuff to say. That was cool.
Protest.
Was there a divide on the
riots.
panel in terms of how you guys saw Ferguson?
Not.
Mike? No, I'm kidding.
I wasn't here last week, so
We're gonna be fair.
I'm usually the divisive one here, but
Honestly, you never are though. You never are.
We always-
I come in. I think I
us.
logic my way out of getting in trouble.
Yeah.
I think that's what usually happens. Is I come in with a somewhat controversial, but I'm like, listen to what I have to say, and I
This is
myself
how it
out.
happens. Before we go on air, Mike has 2 days of research done.
Right.
And he will sit in here and he will this and that and this and that, and then the camera comes on and the intellect of how to not get killed
Right.
comes out of
Navigates
his
through it all.
Navigates.
I'm a nerdy guy who got beat up a lot, so I'm good at
Yeah.
navigating those waters.
I
Yeah.
hear you. I hear you. Okay.
So it's good. But we
But
left
we did
off.
have an interesting, not a divide.
It wasn't
We
a
did have an
divide.
interesting conversation as it relates to.
We spoke about personal responsibility
Yes.
concerning
Yeah.
Michael Brown.
Yeah.
We talked about what else did we
Are you talking
speak to?
about?
I
Are you
think to
talking
be
about what he
honest-
did?
Yeah, well, not what he did, but what he didn't do.
Well, I think to be honest, we definitely you pinpointed it right there. We had probably more of a divide with us and the media.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. We actually agreed more with each other versus how the media saw things. They were thinking, okay, yes, justice for Mike Brown means protest, means throw things, means burn things, and we just.
But I don't
really
think the media said that. The
I'm
media
sorry,
never.
the
protesters. There's always going to be. I think. Well, it did in a way. You're right. Because Fox News. Yeah, well,
protesters.
I'm going to call out Fox News because you guys have sucked on this coverage so bad, so ridiculously bad. I can't seriously say news at the end of your name. It's disgusting. It's disgusting as hell.
Did it take this story for that?
No, it took. This one is the first one I looked at, and I just. If you've been watching what's gone on with that dipshit Sean Hannity, I'm sorry, I'll stop swearing. But that idiot, what he's been talking about, trying to, he can't even use logic to defend it, and he's talking about, we don't know what happened, therefore it's okay. To me, this whole story, we're blowing things out, like, we need facts. But people are trying to twist those facts in such a way.
Mike, let me offer something for that, because I no longer appear on there, but I spent over a year appearing as a frequent guest on Fox News.
Fair enough.
And I would offer this in reference to Sean Hannity and even probably Bill O'Reilly and a lot of what seems like really ignorant. And I'm not saying it's not ignorant, because it is by definition ignorant.
Yes.
But I believe, because I actually have talked to these people off camera, they have what I personally call a social constructed blind spot.
Oh, I know.
When it comes to issues like this.
Totally agree.
Because of their own personal experiences and really limitations to those experiences, I truly, in my heart, believe are incapable of understanding the brevity of what's going on here in terms of these racial politics and the way it all intersects and plays off of each other. So I'm not excusing any of this ridiculous commentary and questioning, but I just want to offer that. I think it's a true blind spot on their part.
I don't think it's a blind spot. I think they play it as a blind spot, and I think what they do is they're playing to. I don't take Rush Limbaugh seriously at all anymore. I can't take him seriously as a human being. He's flipped on himself. So like they're playing a character to me. At this point, I cannot.
I wouldn't say. I can assure you, Bill O'Reilly is not playing a character.
I was just about to ask you about Bill O'Reilly because of your history there.
Yeah.
I remember when I believe it was Bill O'Reilly, because I'm pretty sure it was not Rush Limbaugh. When Bill O'Reilly his first time going to a diner or a restaurant in Harlem,
right? And
he went on air, or it was in I can't remember if it was an article or something he said on air, but basically no one was screaming, no one was loud, nobody was saying, "Yo, bring me my sweet tea." That was the quote. I'm not making that up. Gosh. That's not me. Yeah, that was what he said off camera. Now, because I understand both sides right here.
Yeah.
Mike believes kind of what I believe. I believe that they play it as a blind spot, but they play it as a blind spot for ratings because they're playing money to their audience because they make so much money. But you've spoken to them personally.
Yes.
So
particularly Bill.
Give us a chance to understand.
Yeah, let me give you a little more context. This is what I'm saying. Bill is Irish Catholic, grew up in a poor income, some part of New York, whatever. And his attitude is, I pull myself up from the bootstraps. I didn't have all of these governmental handouts and gimmies. And so he doesn't understand why that same success story is not applicable equally to communities of color. That's honestly his mentality. Now,
he doesn't understand that they're like so far behind the times because of like gerrymandering that white people did.
He doesn't understand.
He's a history major. He has a master's in history.
He does, from the Harvard Kennedy School. What I'm saying is, though, because of his personal experience, this is a really hard thing I'm trying to articulate, and I hate that I'm coming off probably sound like I'm defending it, but I'm really just trying to present his perspective.
Well, the thing is, it's not,
He cannot understand something that he has not experienced, and because I call it an ignorant blind spot, because in his world, if he can do it, why can't everybody else do it? And what he's not taking into account is the many structural barriers that are both historic and current.
And that he probably didn't
totally
actually
agree.
have to face or deal with.
But that's such a white...
How can a student
it's the definition of white privilege. Of course it is.
But I don't understand how you can go from... Okay, I grew up white, middle class. I understand. I don't maybe understand it sometimes, but I understand it's there.
Yeah.
How do you read a history book and not understand the things that have happened that put them behind in the first place?
I think if that was true, then we wouldn't be where we are right now, though.
We see.
Well,
right
no.
I just wanted Mike to.
No, I'm just saying, like, if what you're saying is true, which yes, how could somebody not see that this be crazy, blah, blah, but we wouldn't be having this discussion right now. We wouldn't be in this situation right now.
Because that's how privilege works. If we take race out of it, let's just say, another privilege is being attractive. That's a privilege in America especially.
Yeah.
That's like, you know, any pretty person being like, well, I don't understand why it's, you know, it's so much, you're saying it's easier for me to get a job than someone who's unattractive or whatever. It's stupid. It's the blindness of the privilege holder that prevents them from being, and maybe it's a little bit of guilt that's associated with having the privilege and being able to
identify the fact that you have the privilege.
You don't want to acknowledge that you've received a benefit. Right.
Because the thing is, it was given to you. I mean, you didn't give it to yourself. Right. You were born into your privilege. So what are you really, not that what are you supposed to do with it? Yeah, you can have the white person in this situation that we're talking about go out and fight for everybody else and try to prove that. But like you said, that, I mean, sometimes people see that truthful and some people say, oh, is that guilty? Are they trying to overcompensate? I mean, there's so many different ways. We live in a world that no one can see anything for just what it is, for positivity. If somebody, you know what I mean, just to think of the person who's going out of their way, and that's how somebody would see it, they're going out of their way because they're this. No, they might actually just care. But
my problem with Bill and those guys is the fact that there's millions of, and the thing about Fox, my parents are Fox News viewers, so I can talk from their perspective. They work hard. My parents did work hard. My dad's the hardest working guy I know. Like, he used to work like 5 a.m. till like 9 at night if he had to, just to provide and stuff. So, but because they work hard, they rely, I hold them responsible. I hold Bill and Sean Hannity and stuff responsible because they're the messengers. These people work hard and they don't, it comes down to CNN, MSNBC too. It's just they're selling a different message. Fox News is making these people's views narrow. There's a great documentary called Outfoxed where they talk about the memos and things like, and they're just completely manipulating to create things that, like the whole thing with Michael Brown and the whole cigar thing. I'm like, what the hell does that have to do?
Because it fits their narrative. You just said it. Yeah, of course they're pushing a narrative.
So why would you? I mean, I'm not saying you
should have a problem.
I think we should really get to the core of what we're talking about, because there's a beast here in the media that we're overlooking. Which means that the quality of news has taken a turn over the last decade and a half or so.
Well, part of the problem is everybody's reporters too. So.
We're not getting unbiased narratives anymore. We're really getting the bent.
Commentary.
Yes, we're getting commentary. And so we have brands that we're established with the Bill O'Reillys and the and the
Rachel Maddows and the Keith Olbermanns and everybody else.
And I think you have to keep that perspective. That's what they're serving. And they have to continue to serve it because there's an audience that wants to hear that point of view.
And we have to own some of this. We have to own this as media consumers as well.
Right.
Because there are networks out there that are trying to remain, really no cable news, but some traditional broadcast news. They're trying to remain true to hard, objective news. And they're normally third in the ratings. Because what sells and what is more entertaining, there's an entertainment component that goes on with news these days. And we follow commentary and opinion-based journalism.
I was actually going to speak to that because she said, as consumers, and I was just talking to friends about this on the way over here, that I don't really know how else I would digest a situation like this, specifically Ferguson, without watching the news. How else am I? But I'm not there. I don't live in St. Louis. I live in LA. I'm only seeing it by Twitter. I'm seeing it by Facebook. I'm seeing it by CNN, by MSNBC. I'm watching every single person. I'm trying to get the most objective as possible. You know,
I totally agree.
Let me toss this out.
I'm just saying, I don't. There's a point that I want to blame the consumer, and I really want to, especially. Unfortunately,
the consumer doesn't know how to.
But I want to take myself out of that and say, okay, I'm watching this just as an objective person. I just want to understand the news. But aren't I only going to get what they give me?
It's vice versa, though, too, Stacey, because here's the problem, too. Would we really be as consumed, all of us, on a national and international spectrum with this Mike Brown story if all of the report said was the police report, the autopsy report, and the grand jury indictment, things like that? No, we wouldn't. What people are watching are the talking heads. They're watching the split screens of
the
people,
celebrities going
of all
in,
of this, of Talib Kweli, of people talking about the hyper mania that's going on with the riots and the looting. People are talking about the conversations around the facts. If the story was just the facts, it would not have this much traction.
I know, and that's my problem.
We've got very limited facts.
Exactly.
No, we don't have. We have lots of facts.
No,
we have lots of facts.
No, we don't.
We do too. We know for a fact fact he was unarmed. Like, the thing is, we're bringing in facts that have nothing to do with, is it right for a police officer to be able to gun down an unarmed teenager in the street?
But we don't know all the, respectfully, Mike, we don't know all the facts. I'm going to tell you how, I know we don't know the facts.
The finger.
Because they cannot be, I did do the finger. Because they, by law, are prohibited from releasing all the facts as of this point. An indictment has not been handed down to this
I know.
No. That's no small thing. Okay, there are plenty of facts and eyewitnesses, testimonies that are sealed by law, and they will remain sealed until this man is properly indicted by a grand jury of his peers. And until that happens, there's plenty of facts that we do not know, and that's for good reason, because they cannot compromise the integrity of this investigation prematurely for the sake of mass media.
Fair enough. I'm talking more. The one thing we seem to know, because of what the cop himself, the statements we do have, is he knew he was unarmed.
Yes.
Everything else is negated to me.
That's
why, as a cop, no, they learn hand-to-hand combat. If you know a guy's unarmed, why in the hell are you using
we don't know what happened.
lethal force?
We don't know what happened in that car when they initially had the encounter.
Which is what we talked about last week.
We don't know what one can forget is what I said last week. Is when Michael Brown was walking down that street, walking in the middle of the street. I'm sorry, because he was jaywalking. He's walking down the street, and I know nobody cares about jaywalking as a crime or not, whatever. I don't.
My bad. It was right. He got shot. My bad. He was jaywalking.
Okay, nobody's saying that.
But a policeman is driving down the street. And if you've ever lived in the hood and a policeman drives down the street, first thing people do is usually split. Yeah. We scatter. We go into our houses. We go into somewhere where they won't bother us.
Yes.
And this cop told Michael Brown to get out of the street. We know that happened.
Yeah.
What
fair
we
enough.
don't know is what happened between that
and the gunshots.
Yes. That's the
that's
part
clear to everyone.
that
I feel like
everyone needs to know.
Yeah.
Because
and from a legal standpoint, because I understand
Why?
your frustration, Mike. You're basically saying that without a weapon, what possible scenario could have arisen to him using deadly force?
That's what he's saying.
Let me tell you what the law says on that. The law does not require that a weapon be involved for an officer to feel a viable threat that would sustain the use of deadly force. All he has to show and prove is that he felt a force that was immediate and deadly.
That's so. Oh my God!
Well, take it up with your legislature, honey. Take it up with your legislature.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree.
No.
But if that's the case, that's the problem.
You're calling us to action, which we talked about. Not just stir up the emotion, but move into action.
That's my problem.
I wondered. I wondered the very same thing you wondered. I've just tried to be balanced in my thinking.
Which brings us to our first topic tonight: police brutality.
Is that what it is?
Amazing.
Let's circle it back.
Brings us to police brutality in America.
Yeah.
What you just said just enlightened a lot of people.
Good.
Is this an ongoing trend? I'm just going to throw this to the shark. Is this an ongoing trend, or has social media made this more noticeable and it's been going on, or is this a new rash?
Let me speak to that, because I had a phase where I hated social media, and now I'm at the point that I love it. So the balance of that and seeing what I get out of it now has been a little bit iffy for me, because like you said, no, Mike Brown, this situation would not be the same if Twitter did not inform me exactly the things that made me angry. If Twitter didn't approach it the way it did, I will give Twitter all that, because for me, that's how I learned about it before I went to all the news sites. Before I came here, I Googled with some friends and was looking up the 10 biggest police brutality situations. And I mean, we went back to 1967, 77, whatever. I mean, this has been happening for a long time. This has been happening for a long time, but I don't think, I'm still young, but just the way that I've approached it in the past maybe 5 years is because of what mass media has done. So I don't know what to say when it comes to the way that we're learning about it, because like you said, is it a trend? What part of it is a trend? Is it the way that we react to it becoming a trend? Because that part to me is becoming a trend. Like I said last week, we brought back our girls for only a month and a half.
Exactly.
And then we dealt with another situation. We were only about Martins and Skittles and iced tea for about 6 months. Okay, cool. So 6 months is enough. All right, cool. Then the next situation, we were there for about 3.5. School's starting and I got to go buy new clothes.
You make a great point, Stacey. It's a novelty that's being associated with a lot of these tragedies.
I think also the fact that we have a global media and a social media, like, I mean, it's not that these things never happened, it's that it got reported in that city. And that city is where it kind of stayed over in the past, especially before the 90s, before all the cable news started. That's when all of a sudden things became more noticeable. And now we're at a point where if something happens, it can instantly, like...
Do y'all know who Jonathan Farrell is? Anybody on the panel?
No.
Okay, unarmed black boy. No. To your point.
Jonathan Farrell. Okay.
unarmed black boy, recent graduate from FAMU University, shot and killed by Charlotte Mecklenburg police officers. And the facts of that, to me, are much more egregious even than the facts we thus know about Mike Brown. But yet it's not gotten anywhere near the media coverage. So to your point, Stacy, I think we're very bad, and as me included, any media participant, we're very bad about cherry picking certain cases that we want to highlight and make novel in this way and get all up in arms about, and not saying that Mike Brown doesn't need justice, but
who doesn't?
But it's the PR campaign or the lack thereof. I mean,
well, it deals with the community too.
It definitely does. But I think that when it takes on a life of its own, because I mean, you said that you found out about this case through social media. Was your opinion shaped by social media? Because I think there's something to say for the civil journalist that's out there taking a picture with theirs. You know, you're getting their point of view, which may not be unbiased. You know, and if it fans the flame of confusion or passion or rage, then we've got a whole city that's now on fire.
It's the story. Whole city on fire. You're right, Don. It's the fact that there were riots. If there were never riots, this would not be a story at all. He would be another dead body. They'd have a judicial investigation just like everything else, and he'd be in the same boat as Jonathan Ferrell. The problem, well, the issue, maybe it's a good thing that it brought issue to it, but the riots is the story. The journalist is only concerned with the story.
But the riot was summoned by social media.
But I mean, there was a social media campaign about
there was a lot of there's a lot of things from the articles I've been reading between Ferguson and the citizens to begin with. So there's that start. It's almost like New York and in parts of Brooklyn and stuff where you have bully cops, and so this is a thing that's been brewing for a while as well. So this was kind of the kickoff to we're not going to take it anymore. That's what it was to me.
I agree with that.
I definitely agree with that. But I do think that we're rallying. I mean, we've seen a lot of rallies over the years take place. And they're organized by social media because we're able to just kind of fan the flame.
Well, like you said, okay, so we're talking about it being a trend, and I don't know if we decided, because we talked about it last week too, if it's a good thing or bad thing for social media to rise to the point that it's making other people make decisions. I mean, I don't feel like, I feel like somebody told Obama, by the way, on Twitter, they're blowing you up. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's the reason some of these decisions are being made, because people can just talk now.
React.
Anyone from the age of 8 who can sign up or whatever to the age of whatever can literally say whatever they want, and that gets back to the people in charge.
Well, that's part of the problem is we're, as consumer, like I have a lot of friends who I don't think are stupid. They don't know how to vet a source. They don't know, like they'll post something about
like this
GMO. I'll go like a super light story, a GMO food story about how it started some tumor, and then I do one Google search and it's completely false. Or even worse, people are posting satire. As actual, like I have to put a disclaimer on my thing, and Facebook is actually changing it to like, oh, we're gonna point out satire because people will share it as real things.
When Colorado legalized marijuana, there is a cop that I know in Los Angeles that actually posted a satirical story about 3 people ODing from marijuana on the first day. And he thought it was real.
I know a lot of people who posted it's real. That specific one.
But let me call out one of the elephants in the room, because I wouldn't be doing my job if I did not. And I alluded to this a little bit last week by pointing out that as of August, what was last Friday when we did this show? 15th, 10 people had been murdered in Chicago.
11 now.
Well, it's 27 actually. 27 people have been murdered in Chicago over the last week, but there's no protest.
Story around that.
There's no story.
But they're numb to it because that's those
There's no story.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Is it that there's no story, or no story has been created? Because when they're PR campaigns, you've got to create a spin, you've got to create a story so that you can get some traction. I mean, Trayvon Martin, that case, by the time we got it,
but that was only a story, Don, because of the delayed arrest. That's why that became a story, because of the 3-week delay. Here's the thing about Chicago. It's, to me, one of the most gut-wrenching stories ever. But we've got to be the ones as the black community to create that story. And that requires us to hold a mirror up to ourselves. We become, the spotlight's on us in that story. And I personally believe we're a little hesitant to hold that up to ourselves right now.
Well, yeah,
we're not a little hesitant.
I don't think,
we're totally hesitant.
Well, I think it's because a lot of times, you know, we don't want to see what's really there for us.
Right.
That there is personal responsibility involved in this. I mean, we talked about it last week.
It's the same thing that, I'm not to cut you off, but it's the same thing when Bill Cosby came out years ago and made the statements that he made about black parents, black children, lack of education, and the things we value today. And people jumped on him. Don't be airing our dirty laundry. It's dirty laundry. Sometimes you got to clean it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I mean, I think the worst thing for us, I know for me as a black man, is to stand up. You know, I'm with the people and I'm for a cause, and then all of a sudden you went over there and stole cigars. Really?
Last week we talked about that because I had a little bit of an issue with that. I definitely agree with the fact that we need to be better, quote unquote, but it's always we have to be better and we have to do it. Like no one else sees it.
The problem.
That's always
But white America needs to be better too.
Oh, absolutely.
I think Earth needs
people need to be better.
How about just human beings? I was thinking just people.
Here's the thing. That is 100% true. But the way I see, and this is just me speaking for Eboni K. Williams right now, personal opinion. In the meantime, while we're waiting on everybody to be better, let us get better because it's costing us our lives in the meantime.
If you guys
at an alarming rate.
At an alarming rate. That's all I'm saying. It's like, look, we absolutely need structural change, political change, and all of these things that will make it all better. But we can control what we do. And so I'm just saying, let's start with what we can absolutely control, what we don't have to wait on a process for, because that can start saving lives.
Well, you know, I think we've got to realize where the bar of personal responsibility is. In other words, I've heard a couple of people say to me, well, it was just cigars. No, it was more than just cigars. It was a principle. You know, there was a moral value that was compromised there. And I don't want to compromise that standard, because if I compromise that standard, we become desensitized to the fact that you don't respect boundaries, nor do you respect authority in some cases. And that's an area where I think we need to be.
That's why the whole idea of police work is working for the citizens and we bring people to justice. That's the idea.
Yeah.
I don't get well, first of all, the cops, as soon as they reported the cigar thing, they were like, oh, we had no idea that happened.
So that's. I don't think that had anything to do with the murder, and I do.
No, I know, and the thing is, with you have to that's muddling the waters. Why are we talking about something? Sure, it's just character assassination at this point.
But hear this, what I'm saying.
That's all it is, and that's what Fox News keeps harping on.
When I first got this story, I was okay with the fact that something happened that should not have happened, and I really wanted to know what it was.
Yes.
And I see a boy unarmed, he's dead in the street. I got a problem with that. But then I hear this cop's version that this kid supposedly approached him in his car and assaulted him, and what he did was responding. That's all I knew. That's all I heard.
Yeah.
I thought that was ludicrous when I heard it.
Yeah, same here.
I still
don't believe it.
Until I saw the character exhibition of the video, and I saw him then intimidating the store clerk and doing that, and I thought, well, now that's possible. And so while it's very different, it does speak to character.
Right, and this is important strictly from a legal thing, because you're a potential juror, you're a potential juror. So all of these things do matter. Here's the other thing. I was watching CNN's coverage, and they were, I think it was Don Lemon, somebody was interviewing just a black guy on the street, no shirt, just like you could tell, just around the block kind of Ferguson dude, right? And he talked about what you're talking about, police community interaction, because this has been a brew for a long time.
Yes.
And I saw this. I was a public defender in my past life, and I talked to officers, and I had my clients who were typically indigent, black and brown brothers. And the big gap and why these deaths, I believe, keep happening is there is a huge disconnect in the communication style and the way it's interpreted between cops and authority figures and black and brown men particularly. Right. And so this aggression in the way it's interpreted or perceived is the problem. And that's what the guy was saying on the news. He was like, you know what, if an officer's, riding his cruiser, he's like, young man, pull your pants up, sir. I have no problem with that. He's like, officer, I'll pull my pants up. But when the officer is like, pull your pants up, all aggressive and hostile, that's where these nuances and something that's so small like jaywalking or stealing cigars or whatever else stupidness you're doing, being out after curfew, goes from something small to a unnecessary murder.
Right.
I totally agree.
But whose fault is that? I didn't hear whose fault.
The police officer should act better, though.
Because the thing is,
I hold the police officer.
I agree with that. I do agree. I think it has to start with the officers, and this is where sensitivity trainings and things that we keep talking about, but that aren't really happening in an effective way. That has to happen. Yeah, because I agree with you on that, Mike. I think the officers, whether they and this is not just white officers. I see this even with black officers.
And the thing is, I would omit even with the black officers, because I hate when people. And the thing is, now we have the black officer now speaking for the whole Ferguson. Why? Yeah. Why is that? Because he's there now. It's all better.
No, well, yeah, a little bit, Stacey. And the reason why is because there's PR, but it's also a huge distrust from the Ferguson community.
Distrust is different.
I think with people in general, they distrust the police now. I don't even think it. Like to me on this, oh no, hell no, not with this kind of stuff. Like what we saw is the military. My biggest thing of the whole thing is the tear gas, the way they handle, like the fact the police, even when the looting was going on, the protesters had to be the one that stepped in and not the guys they're paying to step in. You want to see a disconnect, like without even hyperbole. This is what happened in Nazi Germany. They started with the Gestapo. The Gestapo got militarized. Then they did what they want, and for a long time we've been passé. Now we got to seriously look at like, what kind of weapons do we want our cops? Like when I saw a cop pointing a sniper at peaceful protesters with their hands up. How the hell do you not go, okay, something's wrong? And even the military got in. There's multiple things with military guys going, we weren't that dressed up for Iraq where we knew there were terrorists with bombs. So why the hell does a cop need that?
For me, that's what really
rolling up, right?
That's what took it over the top for me. When I originally saw this story, I had the same viewpoints as you two. It was and then we find out about the pictures, we see the robbery, and it's okay, wait a minute, you know, before I'm standing up and I'm putting on my support shirt, let me find out what's happening, which led to people getting mad at Obama for doing something intelligent like waiting on the facts and things like that.
But how can they bring,
we'll get to that in a minute. But then the police rolled in like it was,
like a militarized zone.
But those are separate issues, right? So there's the killing of Mike Brown. That is an issue.
That's an issue.
Then there's the over-militarized response of the police to the protesters. That's an issue. Then third issue, which I'm sensitive to right now, the suppression of our First Amendment right to free press. And the way they are shutting down these journalists in Ferguson left and right.
Threatened with death.
Threatened with death, arresting them unnecessarily and illegally. And that's a problem because why are you suppressing media coverage?
I'm confused. Who do they answer to? They don't answer to anybody?
That's the problem.
The local police?
Yes.
They should be answering to the state level police, which are ultimately under the supervision of federal authority. Which is why so many people were calling for, at some point, just in the
National
Guard.
Because there was a lot of things. I mean, you guys mentioned most of it, all of it really, but these different tactics or ways of approaching these protests, I just don't understand how you didn't have a conversation like, okay, we might get in trouble for this, maybe we shouldn't do this. There was no conversation.
There's no accountability.
But that's what
that's the problem.
I don't understand.
Help me with this, because I want to know history, and maybe I'm fudgy on my history. I've never seen this kind of response from the police officials on any other group of people other than blacks. There are always blacks on the other side of that gun, that barrel, and that riot gear.
There is, but the thing in this one is it's going. That's what I was saying is white people are scared. They arrested a 90-year-old Holocaust survivor for protest. Like they're going after white journalists. They were going after. That's what scared. Like at this point, yes, there is a race issue, and we should get to it. But at this point, the police is out of control.
Let's look at it
insanely out of control.
Let's look at who are they accountable to? I'm very confused of how we're reading the stories of them doing making these decisions or doing these actions.
It's such a multifaceted
and no one's saying,
story.
okay, they need to be arrested.
They need to be reined in completely. I agree with you. I mean,
which is bad leadership at the top for sure.
Which is why they ended up sending in the black cop who was the
State Highway Patrol.
From Ferguson.
And I think a dog on the show. I'm just so offended by that.
Here's the thing. It looks offensive, and y'all, I accept your offense. But I appreciate the way this man is talking to these people, because I honestly believe even if he was a white man, him not being local Ferguson helps, because it's like, okay, you're not exactly what we're used to, and it's just his demeanor. He's talking to the people like they're normal. It could be you, Mike, locked up, and you're like, you know what, guys, I respect y'all's right to protest. As long as you're not throwing cocktail bombs, we're good.
Oh, the new guy's great. I love him.
They would respond in kind.
I think it's problem with him.
It's this aggressiveness that they were getting from the local.
I totally agree with your. I mean, he honestly is a good representation. I just didn't like the way it was portrayed. Now we're gonna get this black savior. That's what I had a problem with.
I think that's reading. Don't think that's reading a little bit into it, because they could have also gotten. They could have. I've seen black law enforcement leaders that are really aggressive.
57 on the force and only 3 blacks. You have a major crisis, and you got to bring the black guy to the forefront.
Maybe it's his tip. y'all are talking about something. Okay, I see what you're saying, but you're drawing a causal link that's not necessarily so. He happens to be black, yes, and maybe that makes for better optics. Yes, but he also, from what I've seen of him, has an excellent temperament dealing with his community.
Listen, that's my point. You're making my point. I think that if you have a predominantly African-American community, why do you have a predominantly Caucasian police force?
That's a totally great point.
Right. Do you see what I'm saying? So that maybe if you had something that was more indicative of the community, you would always have that temperament or that access point to this community to keep the lid on it.
Yeah, 100%. Same thing we talked about last week when we said if there had been a community outreach in this community, if there had been an open dialogue between community leaders,
this killing happened.
That as soon as it happened, we have lines of communication.
Wouldn't have had any of this.
Line of communications where people can talk, but that wasn't there, and they responded with aggression. With more aggression.
And this is also back to, your point exactly, Rome, and your point. The way the law enforcement responds immediately is a big deal. Here's the thing. Law enforcement typically protect their own, which is why Charlotte...
That's the problem.
Yeah, and that's a big problem. I hate that about the police. But in Charlotte, with the guy I was talking about earlier, Jonathan Farrell, totally different thing. First of all, they had a black police chief, Rodney Monroe, and not just any old black police chief, a black police chief who was willing to break ranks from the good old boy system. The minute that this officer, the facts came out, suspended that officer immediately. That officer was put up for indictment immediately. And so it didn't give Charlotte time to fester and feel like there was not transparency going on and that they needed to react in this volatile way.
Well,
That's the difference.
Yeah, we've given a little too much control to the police. And we need transparency. Transparency is how these things don't happen. Recently in certain cities, they're starting to put cameras on the cops. All of a sudden, police brutality goes down 60 to 70%. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that being accountable because everything's being recorded, and if it's not recorded, they're going to be like, what happened? And you're automatically in trouble. All of a sudden, they behave a little differently. So, like, everyone freaks out about having cameras everywhere, and I'm like, well, you know what? I'm kind of glad they are, because there was a second shooting this week, and I don't mean to segue to this, but thank God someone got it on tape. So, like, they were saying, and that's my problem, is they're saying, well, wait till the facts come out. Well, the facts came out on this one where they said he was running at them with a knife overhand. Even so, why don't you know hand-to-hand combat good enough to take care of that situation? Besides he was 15 feet away.
And bullets fell, and bullets were shot after he was falling.
Yes.
That situation, that can go one of two ways, because a knife is still deadly.
Okay, but why is he gunned down, but John Holmes in Colorado killed 12 people, shot another 50, 60? And they can wrangle him to get a trial, but they can't do that for these black guys.
Study his brain.
But that's a whole different issue, though, like in terms of just the innate fear that comes with black and brown men.
I totally agree.
Well, I think that's a big issue.
That's a big issue.
And that's a big issue for, I think, white America to deal with. And I think it's a big issue for black America, particularly men.
It is
how we show up in the world.
But also black people, period. Because I'm gonna tell y'all a story. I'm moving to New York. And I was looking for apartments.
She's about to hit it.
I was looking for apartments. I am about to keep it 100 right now. And some of my black friends and family members. Ooh, girl, I mean, did you see any guys and stuff out there and all of this stuff? I mean, I was like, let me tell you something. I'm not scared of my own people. And that's going back full circle. It starts almost with us. If we can't take down that guard and that fear of ourselves and our own boys and men, how in the world do we expect greater America to do so? We have to disarm this fearfulness. But you know what?
We're watching the same TV that great America is, and when we see what they see, that the black guy was the one who killed all these people, or the black on black crime is raising, and that how are we supposed to be like, no, it's cool, maybe he was this way? No, we see it the same way.
But we've also got to put out other images, though, Stacey.
We do.
But listen, I'm guilty. I mean, you challenged me, and I accept the challenge.
I figured.
Because I would walk down the street and have to profile a brother before I decide to speak to him.
But you don't do that for white people?
No, I do.
I do.
I'm
scared of rednecks.
I'm like, girl, you look shady.
human beings. It's called human
Well, I mean,
beings.
I think I profile white people too in a certain situation, but I know that I could drive down or walk down the street and see a brother looking up to no good, and I can determine this brother here, you need not to even try to inspire or encourage him. Because this one here doesn't have to nothing but foolishness. And I'm going to say, you know what? Lord bless the community as I drive through. No, I'm just
terrible.
But that's his truth, and I'm not gonna attack you for speaking your truth.
You can even attack me for it. I'm telling you, I'm accepting the challenge.
Right, but we got. I think that's something we got to work on, though.
We do.
See, and that right there, I want to take a moment. Hold up, I want to take a moment right now.
Right there, that's.
I want to take a moment
circle it back to Rome.
because that's something that I agree with Don on. You guys can't speak to it because you're black females.
No, we can definitely speak to it.
They will respond to you differently than they will a brother trying to tell them how to run his game. Please understand.
You will never know what it's like to be a black man.
What about that?
Yeah, but it's different. When a man sees you, his initial... I don't care what he's been doing that day. His initial plan isn't, I'm going to rob this person. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. Let me go walk down the wrong street in my hometown of Birmingham, Alabama. Let me have on the wrong color. Let me have on anything like that and something goes wrong. They coming to me just like this. Where you from, homie?
I can't knock your experience. I mean, I believe you. I guess for me... and I've been in like some really sketchy neighborhoods with some sketchy ass characters, you know, on the side. And I guess my approach, and I could end up shot and kill for it, so you heard it here first. I just always treat them with respect. I don't give you a crackhead on the street. If they speak to me, how you doing? Like, I'm doing well, sir. Hope you're having a good day. And I keep moving though at a rapid pace. But I just give them that little bit of respect.
But speaking is a respect that I would give.
Yeah.
But what I thought you were challenging us to is to becoming active and engaged to create a change in our own community.
Well, eventually, I do want us to get to that stage.
And I will. But I'm telling you that I will profile my own people to determine whether or not this is accessible or not. Whether or not me having that conversation is even welcome. Because a brother to a brother.
But the thing is, the more you profile,
it's a different dynamic. It is.
The more you profile, the less it does become accessible. Because if 5 versions of you walk down 5 versions of that, I don't even know if I say them. I mean, whatever that means. Us. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what to say in that situation. And all of you keep walking past and decide it's not accessible, blah, blah, blah. Then what?
And they're still having kids and they're still teaching their kids. I'm not saying that because I'm just saying everyone has children.
Who's the responsibility for? We just read that.
And they're teaching that same. I am not dying for people. I will stand for my people. I will encourage. I'm just thank you. Thank you. No,
I'm blacker than Don.
I am not. But I don't want to send the wrong message. I don't want to send the wrong message because I'm definitely for change and transformation of people.
This is interesting,
and our people, you know. But what I'm saying is, it's not that I won't speak because I will speak. What's up, bro? You know, some of them I got to put a little.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah. You know, I got to do whatever I got to do.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Sometimes you just keep it. I keep it real formal with them.
Sometimes you do.
Yeah.
And see, I have to do the same thing.
I think you guys. I think you guys are mixing up. I think you guys are mixing up. I think you guys are mixing up profiling with approachability. There's a difference. It's somebody who is portraying body language of somebody who's approachable. Yes, you can start up a conversation with them, or you can talk to them, or you can say, hey, but somebody who's being suspicious.
But maybe no, Stephen. He's not talking about somebody being suspicious. He's talking about before he even makes a determination as to how he's going to approach it. He's assessing, also known as profiling, according to what they look like.
To be honest, I think we do that for everyone.
For everybody.
And the trick is trying to learn to filter out and be like, I don't know this person, and I should give them a chance, which is the hard part because that's vulnerable and that goes against all your instincts.
Yeah,
that's the hard part.
Profiling is instinctual.
It is.
You walk up to a bar. There's somebody outside a bar, you're going to decide whether you're going to mess with that person.
So that's the call. That's the call to all of our human nature, black, white, brown, and other, is to fight the instinct. That's the call.
To fight. You're right. That's the challenge that I was receiving from you. That I've got to fight that if I'm going to make a difference amongst our people.
Because I had to do it because I'm telling you, I used to feel the same way, and then I started working in the PD's office, and these were my people. I am their. I'm all they got.
Right.
I am their advocate. So if I'm looking at you like, oh gosh, don't get too close to me at the defense table, what the hell do I expect from the judge? Or the DA. So it forced me to fight those instincts and really embrace my people.
But are their dispositions different when they're in that context?
Not always. Sometimes they were mad as hell at me. Like, first of all, you look 12 years old. What am I gonna do with you? I'm going to jail. Give me a real lawyer. Yeah, all of that goes back. All of that.
That goes back to their circumstance that they put themselves in that situation. So they're gonna be mad at the world. I understand that. But
what I'm getting to is that I just think that we are vulnerable and we're volatile in some instances.
When men approach other men, when we walk into a room and it's full of other dudes, and we look around, it's an adversarial type of thing until we know who's cool, who's safe, who can I talk to. We're gonna go in as a territorial animal. I know it's hard to put it that way, but that's human nature at the basis of who we are. Women do the same thing.
Yeah, I was like, why did I say I think? What I meant is I know, but I think just there's a different, approach to it. You guys, you're coming at it more of a.
We even had there was even a dichotomy to the civil rights movement. You had Malcolm X with his approach and Martin Luther King on his approach, and they opposed each other until enough time went by that Malcolm said, you know what? I'm going to go down to Alabama. I'm going to go to Selma, and I'm going to meet
The discussion has to be there. The discussion has to be there, and no one can move.
And nothing happened until that happened.
And everyone... it's funny, I've gotten weirder looks since I shaved my head.
Yeah, because you look a little like higher learning a little bit.
I look what?
You're
a little higher learning.
You're giving me a little higher learning right now.
You're looking a little American History X. That's
okay, I don't know.
Higher learning is a John Singleton film about that dealt with a white supremacist as well.
Michael Rappaport.
And so, I automatically added, I got to see it then. I love that guy. I have a joke about it and people get it right away because I'm white. Profiling is what we do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what we have to do more, just to bring it back real quick, is we need to look at the police the same way too. We need to give them a chance as well. First of all, 98%, I'll say 98% of police officers are great.
Yep.
They want to help their community. There's obviously pockets that are really bad, and they're a bad department, and there's just
that was a huge
poison. I get what you're saying. Let me pose this question. I'm gonna pose this question and listen to you guys' answer. How do you do that when the history of distrust between poor people, not including race, just poor people and the police, has been so bad for the last 50 years?
The onus is on police. It has to start with the police department to de-escalate that distrust, and it's going to take, basically, they got to get over their pride. Because they feel like, most officers that I've encountered feel like they are supreme in every way as law enforcement.
They're taught that, too.
They're taught that, and they feel like they've earned the right to be that way because they are risking their lives for their communities. And that part is true.
I get that.
And so, but I think it's going to start with a really brave law enforcement leadership that says, you know what, because we're in a position to help this the most, that's what we're going to do. And they're going to de-escalate, and they're going to start approaching people off of the assumption of respect. And then if it goes somewhere else, then they're equipped to handle it. But when you approach it from an assumption of aggression, it goes left.
Well, and that's what I mean is we have to make sure to put out that peaceful, I'm not aggressive, and I'm... Well, if you have cops as friends, I feel bad. It's a tough job.
I'd say hands up.
I'm a black man.
I'm
a black man. When I get pulled over by the cops, I make sure that my hand is at 10 and 2.
Yes.
If I don't hold them out the window like this.
Hey, I do that too, and I'm white.
And I didn't do that because I'm thinking they got it. I'm innocent. I don't know. See, but I didn't think that way. It was a problem. It was a problem.
It was a problem.
It was my first encounter with how. I won't say a bad word, how crazy they can react. I mean, I had no idea. I was 18. I just literally was not thinking. I mean, that was the funniest moment for me because I literally was like, I got out the car, you guys. That's all I'm going to say. I was like, oh my God, let me tell you what I just did. And I get that. I don't think, to me, it wasn't a black thing. It was just his, as a police officer, whatever.
They don't like
But my issue, not even issue, with going to what Eboni just said and agreeing with what she just said in terms of how the police need to start handling themselves and whatever. Who do they answer to? I'm confused still. Because
depends
why
on the department and state. That's the problem.
So the manager on top of manager on all think the same way? Is that what we're saying?
For most the levels until the final federal level with the attorney general and stuff.
So Eboni said that pride has to come out.
It's all state level.
And I think the fear is well. You brought that up earlier.
Yeah, because what we're talking about, Stacey, is all of these departments they're mini communities. Right? Yeah. These are not just jobs. These are not just jobs, like knowing people jobs. When you join a police force, you join a fraternity.
Family.
No, it's literally it's a fraternal order.
It's a brotherhood.
It's a brotherhood.
Yeah.
It's nepotism. It's all of these things going on. It's a community. So where do they get the tone or the temperature of what their department is going to be like? From their higher ups. It's inherited. Yeah. And most of these cops are in those same roles for years. 10, 30 years. So to your question, says how do we change the temperament? Well, it's got to start top down. It will never be any other way.
100%.
I've got a couple of issues here. One, the temperament. What is the acceptable temperament for a police officer, a peace officer? You know, one who's designed, as we say in LA, to protect and to serve.
Yes.
You know, I saw the other guy that got shot in St. Louis this week, Jimmy or something his name was. And he was the guy apparently holding the knife coming at the cops.
And he wasn't.
Come to find out he was not coming at the cops, but he had the knife, I assume, down to his side.
No, it was in his pocket.
It was in his pocket. See, I couldn't tell by the video. But he had the knife, not pulled it. But these guys shot 2 cops.
Yeah, we saw
unloaded 10 bullets in this kid within 15 seconds of showing up to the scene.
Overkill. Oscar Grant. Overkill. Sean Bell. Overkill. The white homeless guy that was running in the hills, running away from the cops. Shot and killed. Overkill. So no, this is not in any way saying the police
but
are
if
not
they can say
they're awful.
But if, as you said earlier, if they can say they were fearful of their lives, this reminds me of Zimmerman. If they can say they was fearful of their lives, they're justified in utilizing that force.
No. There's more to it than that. They can't just say it. They've got to prove it with over a preponderance of the evidence that is a reasonable belief.
So the fact that I reach in the car and knock your head upside a wall,
so it comes
and
down
you got bruises, that gives you, will that give you justifiable reason?
To kill?
To kill.
Could be. If the jury believes that there was a fact scenario that would cause a viable threat, it's all about reasonableness, right?
Yeah.
So it's got to be that there was a rumor out with the Michael Brown case that the officer sustained like really horrible
that was a lie. Complete lie.
Complete lie. But for a minute there, I watched all my law school and law professor, more conservative minded
from
people.
The Blaze.
They were so almost excited by that revelation. Literally, it was a weird thing.
Sean Hannity, by the way, that's what I was mainly talking about.
Yeah, they were excited because now it brings a justifiable rationale to the action, and it kills the narrative that police are overly violent. But we know it wasn't true, and so now we continue with the narrative. But that's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm gonna jump in here because we got to wrap up.
Wow.
But
and they're still protesting.
They're still gonna be protesting.
Yeah. Like this,
because there's so much to this story, and it keeps evolving. Between just what actually happened to all the outside forces that have shown up. There's so much to it.
2 seconds though.
Go ahead.
We gotta talk about Obama real quick. Did you like his response? Yes or no? And I want everybody's opinion.
All right, Stacy, send it around to me. I'll come last.
I mean, I'm gonna say yes because to me, Obama's a reasonable man. He's a smart man, and he's not. There was a lot of debate because last week we said maybe Obama, or somebody mentioned maybe Obama should go to Ferguson and just he should have security, whatever, but he should have no suit on. He should have regular clothes and he should just go in and talk to people. And we didn't really come up with a consecutive decision on that, but I wasn't sure if that was the best way to handle it. And so I think his approach to it, coming out, of course, speaking to Mike Brown's family, showing his respect, that this and the third, I feel like people should understand his position. He's the president. Yeah. Okay. And if Bush was doing what he did, I don't know, because we always do it with he's the black president, so this is how he should react to everything. And it's like, you guys, he's still the president. It doesn't matter if he's black, white, yellow, or green. He's still the president. And as a president, there needs to be some kind of order. And he's taking that. He's trying to go one step at a time. And I appreciate that.
I'm going to manipulate the question a little bit. Geraldo said he thinks Obama's greatest failure, and he supports him generally, but his greatest failure is not stepping up and playing into the surrogate role he could play into as the father of Black America. And this is an opportunity. Agree or disagree?
I disagree with that only because I really want equality. I don't want to be judged by the color of my skin. I want to stop having that conversation.
I'm over it.
I really want you to look at the demographic, see the epidemic, and be proactive. I don't want you to be reactive, because I don't want you to have to play to not looking like you're standing up for me, but just stand up because this is a demographic of your people and it's the right thing to do.
Right. Fair enough.
Mike, Obama's in a tough position being the first black president, because it's the elephant in the room, right? Like, you can't not. Hey, what's your opinion on? You were once a black teenager,
right?
Like it's a tough line. I don't think I'm with Don. I don't think his job is to be. In fact, his job should be as neutral as possible, because that's what we want in a way. But because of the events, I think he should have been a little more.
I think now
he should have commented a little more on the police stuff. I think more than anything, more than like you said, there's more facts as a president.
Yeah.
I can be a jackass who spouts things that I'm like, well, I don't care about those facts, but he's the president. So for us to expect more on that comment, I don't like. But I I would have liked to see a lot more on the police brutality and what the federal government's job should be in coming in these situations, because there's a big the National Guard should call in, and then they couldn't get a hold of the governor of Missouri, and he was like, well, I'm just waiting for it to escalate, and then it got out of control, and then finally they called him in. So should the president, like, that's more of the thing I would like to see him talk about.
I know President Obama's tired.
I mean, he's so tired.
From Henry Louis Gates to now, I know he's tired. He's in a tough position. I applauded him initially for waiting to find out exactly what happened, or as much as we could find out what happened. But like you said, I know there are a lot of people angry with President Obama right now, but they wanted him to say more. They wanted him to be that loud, shining, to borrow from Ossie Davis, that black shining prince. Right. They wanted him to be that. He cannot do that. He represents the United States of America, regardless of what people think. That's all of us. That's black, white, brown, yellow, every color that's in this nation. Some people are green, whatever they are. He represents all of us. So you can't expect him to be angry black man to step to the forefront of what is a racial issue.
Totally agree.
It's
hard because you're right. I mean, I wish sometimes Obama has this. I mean, not sometimes. Obama's a political figure, so he has the political voice when he gets on that stage, when he gets to the press. And the thing is, I think they were expecting, and my parents said they were expecting more of a father figure, like you said, because that's kind of how they see him, and I appreciate them. I understand that. They're older. They get to see this in their lifetime, but at the end of the day, they even had to realize he works for the country. And I think it would be so unfair if we made him get into that position, and then how would we see him in the years to come or in other situations?
I'll speak on this as slightly,
and then I want to hear your opinion.
Because we got to close out.
Yeah, well, I control that, so I can give you guys a few more.
Cool. If you tell us to keep going, I'm good.
Thank you.
I think from the start of Obama's campaign and his even running for president for the first time, he sort of shot himself in the foot in some respects of being too close to the American people, in the respect that he was this social media icon. He was this. He was the everyday guy. He was the friend of the celebrities, the friend of the voters, and things like that, as opposed to being the politician of the voters and the representative of the United States of America. So when you have something like this that's going on, and even when you have some of these other cases, like the Trayvon Martin case, or any tragedy that's happened that is more on a community scale, it may be a tragedy, but it's on a community scale. Everyone's like, oh, it's headline news because they're not reporting on the things that are going on overseas, because the media is kind of not really got their eggs in the right basket on what they need to be talking about. And we have this case that's national news when he's the president. That's not his job to go in to a small community case like this and take care of it. That's why we have the governors. That's why we have a bureaucratic system of levels that people need to take care of their business. And if they're not dealing with this, if Obama needs to get involved, people should be getting fired on a grand scale in the state of Missouri because they're not doing their jobs if Obama has to get involved.
I agree with that.
I can agree with that, but I'm sure some people are saying if he can go to a basketball game, he can go to Ferguson.
And that's what I'm saying. He shot himself in the foot.
I'm saying that I can agree with that. That statement is true. I mean, he's in a picture with every single celebrity I've ever.
Can you stop the whole they can't have a regular life? Like people did it to Bush too.
No. Stephen makes a good point.
Right.
He's played both sides of the fence on this issue, and it worked very much so to his advantage in terms of getting elected. However, it works completely against you in terms of governing. And President Obama, he dipped his toe in the water of really working through this racial lens on his comments on the Zimmerman trial. The Zimmerman acquittal. So what Black America saw was this moment of he's able to do it. So by his refusal to do it in this Mike Brown case, I think that's why there's this backlash against many in Black America. That why are you now hesitant to put that same father figure racial lens on, talking about your own experience being profiled as a black man, yada yada yada, that we saw with the Zimmerman acquittal comments. That's I think what that backlash is.
I want to ask you guys something, because this may be a controversial statement to make. But in the grand scale of everything that's been going on in our country for the past 15 years, this town with the police brutality thing, do you think this story should be as big and as nationally covered as it is? Or
Hell no.
Absolutely.
I don't. No, because
the police are why.
Let me tell you why. Because
She said hell no.
yes, it's a problem with the police force, and we know that this is a problem with the police force. But I want you to look at every single country in Europe and look at the riots, look at the protests they're doing, look at how violent it's getting over there, look at the police force over there and how violent they're being, and look at the reasons that they're protesting. The reasons they're protesting are because their economy is in decline, because the government's running the economy wrong. The government is basically ruining the middle class and lower class people's lives by changing this on such a grand scale, and that's what's going on in our country, and people are protesting for the wrong reasons right now.
I totally agree with that. Like I said, like to me, like you say hell no, the militarization of a police force is a hell yeah, this should be covered because this is going to happen
that wasn't
every
what
city.
Steven asked, though. He said, should it be covered to the extent it's being covered?
Yes.
And that's what I said hell no to. No, I disagree. I really hate the coverage that some of the cable news outlets, and I'll say it, it's CNN. To me, they grab onto a story, and to me, I don't think they're covering this story 24/7 because they're so emotionally attached to the story. They're doing it because it's a story, it's sellable, it's marketable, and it's a ratings grab. And I resent that. I think you cover it in proportion to the rest of it. I mean, we had an American journalist who was beheaded. Really? No one's talking about that. No one's talking about ISIS. No one's talking about a lot of other things that are going on in this country right now, which are, no one's talking about Chicago. I mean, if we really want to take it there. No, it doesn't need to be the only story in the news cycle right now.
No, absolutely. But my thing is like
should protest things that they are passionate about. And I think if that happens in small pockets, I mean, I'm giving Steven a little resistance on that. I think that people should protest for what they're passionate about and what interests them.
But I'm saying the American people are passionate about things that, they should be passionate about this. It should be something, but it should be not a national scale.
Yeah, I get you. Nationally, scale.
Nationally, if the American people were really caring about the things that mattered, we would have riots in probably every state right now talking about how nobody's getting anything done about the economy, how nobody's getting anything done about jobs. The housing market has slowly been blown back up, but it's another bubble. It's not. It's another artificial bubble.
I do feel like there's an artificialness to it because, again, I think people are really upset and protesting now because of the rep. Nobody's protesting about Mike Brown because, honestly, there's nothing to protest about Mike Brown about. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. There's a grand jury underway. The indictment is probably inevitable, and even if it doesn't, they'll get another bite at the apple. The Attorney General can do it by a bill of a certificate. He can do it on his own information. That will take care of itself, and if it doesn't, then we address it after the fact. They are protesting because of media, social media, and the police brutality and the militarization that occurred. But that's a response to something that really didn't need to go down in the first place.
Yeah, right. And I want to ask. I'm going to ask one more question, and then of course we have to wrap up.
Oh my God! What?
It's Daryl. He's the man in charge. He's putting you guys down.
All right.
Hating Daryl. Hating.
Right.
All right. So what I was going to ask you guys is, we see that this is what the media is covering on a national level. We see that everything in the past has been the Malaysian aircraft. Okay, the other Malaysian aircraft. Okay. All the police brutality that's going down. What do you guys think of the fact that all of our media outlets have closed-door meetings with the government, and they basically tell them what they're allowed to report on for the week? It's no longer, the media no longer keeps the government on their toes.
Well, I hate to say it though, but people don't watch it either. So we as consumers have decided to be lazy, and we decided we want lazy stories. So that's what they're giving us as well. So it's not all on the media. Some of it, at the end of the day, we have a bunch of businesses.
That was my question when we first started. Okay, you're right. It's not all on the media, but what am I supposed to do as a person who's trying to be an objective viewer in terms of getting the information?
Watch, you work. No, y'all. Do y'all watch? How many people on this panel, me included, have been consistently watching Al Jazeera America's coverage of this?
Man,
that's here.
Not.
And that's the lowest rate of news.
That's my point.
I started with them. Yes,
it's like 17,000 people a night watch it versus one. Seriously,
and it's great journalism.
BBC. So there are media outlets giving real news. Even CBS News, they're consistently third, and they're trying to stay true. And I feel bad for them, and I'm excited to take on this new position. But they feel tied because there is such a thing of business of news, and then there's the ethics of journalism, and they're in conflict.
But the thing is with journalism nowadays, the problem is that we have this huge generation. The internet, maybe let's say 15 years. Everyone who was on board with it 15 years ago, and everyone who's now is kind of knows how to research and knows how to form an opinion based on various outlets, various articles, everything they can find. But everyone from a generation before that, everyone who's older than probably 35 right now, which is a large percentage of Americans, mostly get their news from their local newspapers and TV because it's a generational gap with the internet.
And it's hard to do.
Even look at Al Jazeera, they don't.
Yeah.
My friends aren't, I don't think my friends are stupid. I don't think they're lazy for some of the news, but
they just want to give
it's immediate and they want to feel informed.
Yes.
What Steven just alluded to is what I consider one of the signs of the downfall of the way we think as humans.
Yeah.
It's been...
Oh, the world's ending. All right, cool.
Pretty much. Pretty much. The media has it to the point right now where 52% of Americans don't even believe science anymore.
Jesus Christ. Don't get me started on science, man.
Science.
Right.
It's to that point that intelligence has been pushed out of the door.
I agree.
People don't research. People don't even want to care to research. They want it given to them.
It's coming back.
And
so my whole journalistic creed is we can bring it back, but you got to wrap it in a little bit of candy for people. You know what I'm saying?
You got to
right. You got to fix their vegetables with a little
attractive.
bit. Exactly.
I get you.
Just
people
let
have to care.
get a hold of it. They'll make it taste good.
Yep.
America will take it.
My heart hurts. I don't know how to feel right now.
But that's how it goes. I mean, a lot of the stuff. I hope this song can go for a minute because what the people are protesting, like you said, there's so many underlying issues that are starting to come out, and we as a country, this is our renaissance. This is our time where we have a chance to answer it. We have to answer why so many blacks and Latinos are locked up at such a disproportionate rate compared to whites. Not saying that whites don't get arrested.
It's the war on drugs mostly, but yeah.
Because there's actually way more white crime. But it's not reported like that.
And they're sentenced differently. No, there's actual data from the federal sentencing department that shows black and white men convicted of the same exact crime.
White guys get less
time.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
All the time.
I was going to say thank you guys for letting me join you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you
for
for being here. Yeah, we
got to come back.
There's so many more places we can go from this. You got to come back from New York at some point and sit in on this panel. Till then, where can the people talk to you on Twitter
at Eboni, EBONI_K.
Did you see how she did
Eboni
that?
_K.
She has to keep it 100.
EBONI.
Yeah.
Now they just hate it.
It's 100. Yeah.
Miss Stacy Ike, where can people catch you?
You guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter at OneTakeStace.
Cool. And now for the gentleman, Don. I'm not going to Don first. I'm going to Steven. Since you joined the show.
I tend to avoid Twitter on political issues.
Cool. Good answer. Don.
I tend not to. Meet me at Don's Daily Dose on Twitter.
Mr. Teemant, where can the people catch you?
September 13th, I have a show at Flappers Comedy Club at 7:30. Real quick, I want to check out, you talked about Chicago. Real quick, check out Harper High School by This American Life. It's mind-blowing how much violence. They actually went into a high school for a semester, and it won a Peabody. So check that out, and I'm at Michael Teemant, as seen on the screen, because I don't want to spell it.
Cool. And you can always find me at Rome the Ruler. I am Rome Moore. Man, I got a lot of names to shout out. For Steven in the booth, for Eboni K. Williams, for Stacy Ike, for Don Nash, for Michael Teemant. This has been another episode of Black Tea Party. I think I want to talk about science next week in Attack on Intelligence.
From producers Maria Menounos, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire BHL crew, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us at info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I'm your BHL announcer, Scipio. Instagram me at Planet Scipio. Thank you for tuning in. The views expressed here are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.
Thanks for watching Black Hollywood Live on YouTube. For more in-depth interviews and news, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion in the comment section below here. See you soon, everyone. Bye.